All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Early Morning Crypto Talk. Bitcoin Brandon from Los Angeles, California. It is Saturday. As a disclaimer, I'm not a licensed financial advisor to be giving financial advice. I read the news, give my opinion, share a suggestion, and it is up to you to make an informed, intelligent decision on which direction you want to move into. There's 4 rules I live by in the crypto space to have success. Education is everything. Rule number 2, never invest money you cannot afford to lose. Rule number 3, always get a return on investment back as fast as possible. And rule number 4, where do you see yourself in 3 months, 6 months, a year from now? What are you willing to do to make that happen? Make a decision, take action, stay focused, and do not get distracted. Now, following these rules is not going to guarantee you success, but it will at least minimize your risk. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the most that you can ask for. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Unfortunately, Facebook would not allow me to connect this morning. Therefore, we're doing this through YouTube. So all the people on Facebook will figure it out eventually. It's posted in all the groups. So let's look at the market cap today. Crypto market cap is at 228 billion. It is down 1.7% over the last 24 hours. Bitcoin dominance is at 66.4%. Actually, it's gone up a little bit. It was at 66.1 the other day. Bitcoin price, though, was at 83.29. It is down 1.7%, same as the exact crypto market cap, so it looks like everything else remained the same. Bitcoin just adjusted itself. Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV also dropped 3.6 and 5.1%. Litecoin is down 3.4%. Ethereum Classic 4.3%. Any winners yesterday? See, Bytecoin is up 12.8%. Made SafeCoin 6.6. Augur, nothing really major. A flat, slow day, but a little bit on the negative side of things. Okay, let's go into some articles here. Federal agency hits Wells Fargo's ex-CEO with lifetime ban and $17.5 million fine for fake account scheme. So everyone wants to talk about how crypto is all negative and criminal activity and money laundering. Here we got the former CEO of Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo's John Stump got hit with a lifetime ban from the banking industry. Now watch him run on over to the crypto industry. In an unprecedented action by a U.S. watchdog, the bank's former chief executive officer will also pay a fine of $17.5 million for his role in embroiling Wells Fargo in a massive fake accounts scheme that sparked national outrage. I don't remember hearing about this. To meet crazy quotas, the bank pushed employees to open millions of fake bank and credit card accounts. Wells Fargo copped to charging its customers routine fees on the bogus accounts that were opened over the course of 15 years, from 2002 to 2017. It agreed to pay $575 million in December of 2018 as part of over $2 billion in fines stemming from massive shenanigans. And yet, we want to look at crypto as criminal activity. The bank also engaged in auto insurance fraud, which led to auto borrowers having their vehicles repossessed. On Thursday, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency slapped an additional 7 former senior executives at the bank with $40 million in fines to remedy the bank's systemic sales practices misconduct. Comptroller of the Currency Joseph Oetting said in a statement, "The actions announced by the OCC today reinforce the agency's expectations that management and employees of national banks and federal savings associations provide fair access to financial services, treat customers fairly, and comply with applicable laws and regulations." The OCC confirmed the misconduct of these individuals allowed the practices to continue for years, affecting millions of bank customers and thousands of lower-level bank employees. The OCC Notice of Assessments details how Wells Fargo's community bank, which houses its retail branch network, engaged in widespread manipulation. The unauthorized products and services that were issued to customers also resulted in a financial benefit to respondents and the bank. The bank touted a metric known as cross-sale, or the cross-sale ratio, that measured the number of products sold per household. The unauthorized products and services issued to customers inflated the cross-sell metric and resulted in enhanced stock price. The bank tolerated pervasive sales practices misconduct as an acceptable side effect of the community bank's profitable sales model and declined to implement effective controls to catch systemic misconduct. Instead, to avoid upsetting a financially profitable business model, senior executives, including respondents, turned a blind eye to illegal and improper conduct across the entire community bank. This isn't just one guy, this is the entire system. The bank had better tools and systems to detect employees who did not meet unreasonable sales goals than it did to catch employees who engaged in sales practices misconduct. To the extent the bank did implement controls, the bank intentionally designed and maintained controls to catch only the most egregious instances of the illegal conduct that was pervasive throughout the community bank. In short, bank senior executives favored profits and other market rewards over taking action to stop the systemic issuance of unauthorized products and services to customers. I said yesterday in Crypto Talk, there's one thing that I can always bet on, and it is the greed of mankind. The greed. Look at this. Bank executives favored profits and other market rewards over taking action to stop the systemic issuance of unauthorized products and services to customers. Wells Fargo's current CEO, Charles Scharf, remarked in a statement, in a statement on Thursday saying, the OCC's actions are consistent with my belief that we should hold ourselves and individuals accountable. They also are consistent with our belief that significant parts of the operating model of our community bank were flawed. I wonder if the current CEO was part of Wells Fargo during all this time, or was he an outside guy they brought in? Goes to show, you guys want to trust having your money in a bank? All right, next article up. A world of tokenized assets takes center stage at Davos. Good morning, Marty from Victoria, Texas. A world of tokenized assets. Speaking at a session on Tuesday titled, From Token Assets to a Token Economy at the annual World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, blockchain industry leaders agree that the tokenization of real-world assets could transform business models and entire industries. You see that? I always say, blockchain technology is going to disrupt every single industry on the planet. And now we see the tokenization of real-world assets could transform business models and entire industries. By allowing people to hold a digital representation of a stock certificate, a property deed, a corporate security, gold, fine art, or many other real-world assets, tokenization can power trading on secondary markets across the globe, despite the location of the physical asset or the holder of the token. Says Neha Narula, director of the Digital Currency Initiative at MIT. This is a little bit different than holding it through your bank or a trading firm like E-Trade or Fidelity or Charles Schwab. It's a digitized version of that asset, and as such, it's wrapped in this programmable layer, and we can build really interesting applications on top of that. Jeremy Allaire, Chief Executive Officer of crypto fintech company Circle, explains how illiquid assets could attract investors from around the globe through the issuance of tokens that are fully collateralized. Tokenization could bring an unprecedented level of democracy, opening up new streams of capital for global businesses and markets. He adds, you could argue that capital markets are very efficient. You have the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, but who participates in those is really limited. It's basically thousands of companies out of millions of companies. The ability to access capital as a startup, small business, and entrepreneur, all the way as you grow, is limited. So I think the promise of this is, can we create capital markets that are as open and global as what we have in e-commerce? Narula says digital assets can provide a much cheaper and faster way of breaking down a Warhol painting into a million different tokens, tokenizing the art world. But that same ease of use could lead to abuse, sparking a surge in tokens that are not, in fact, tied to real-world property as claimed. That's true, says Narula. We want to have consumer protection. We want to have market integrity. People who are issuing assets should disclose information about what exactly those assets represent. Again, when this starts to take place, and it's going to be very, very important, because that education is going to allow you to spot red flags. It's going to teach you how to be able to investigate, how to be able to ask the right questions and not get scammed. That's why I say education is key. It is everything. It's not going to guarantee you success, but it minimizes your risk, which is another reason why I cannot go in business with, nor can I ever invest with individuals who refuse or ignore crypto education. It is that important. All right, next up, billionaire investor. Here's why millennials should build their empire with Bitcoin. You know, it's not just millennials. The baby boomers are still here. The baby boomers are at most risk because they are at retirement age now, and they're realizing, man, I just worked all my life, and there's no more pension. There's no more 401k. There's no more savings. The stock market didn't deliver what it was promised to deliver. We got wiped out in 2008. I have a mortgage and a second mortgage on my home because I've been paying for my children to go through college, and they still need help even though they're adults. I've got grandkids now that's reaching college age, and I'm helping my kids pay for their kids to go to college. Social Security is only $800 a month. That's a joke. I'm not going to go back to school. I'm not going to go back to working again. I can't start a new career. What am I going to do? That's the cries of the baby boomers. Ooh, and you know what? I got to do a Facebook Live. I'm going to call it that. The cries and tears of the baby boomers. Oh, I got to write that one down. But the baby boomers can take full advantage of crypto in a short period of time to be able to mass up enough money for the rest of their lives. So what are they talking about for millennials? If you're a millennial, you should consider jumping into Bitcoin, says venture capitalist Tim Draper. In a new interview with Fox Business, Draper says times have changed and many investment and saving strategies that your father or your grandfather followed are outdated and unreliable. According to Draper, the process of saving money bit by bit worked for older generations, but that era is over. Has it really worked for the older generations? He blames the current financial system for burying millennials in debt before they get their first paycheck. That's true. That was me. But I'm not a millennial, I'm Generation X. Things are not quite working for millennials. With the current salaries, they can't quite pay it off. It's a really difficult to become renters rather than buyers because they have to. Cryptocurrencies are the future, says Draper. And although investing in Bitcoin is extremely volatile and risky, he believes the ability to move value without the need for a bank will be revolutionary. Think in terms of what's happening in the future. It's not going to be tribal anymore. It's going to be global. It's not going to be tied to geographic borders. It's going to be open, and we're all going to be part of this amazing, great world. I'm thinking, hey, I'm a millennial right now. Go Bitcoin. Go decentralized. Start building your empire in the new model that doesn't require you to have to pay 2.5% to 4% every time you swipe your credit card to some bank or another. It doesn't require all the heavy regulations we have that are all tied to the dollar. The Bitcoin bull has displayed a knack for spotting tech investments with profit potential. Draper was an early investor in Skype, Twitch, and SpaceX, and the first institutional investor in Tesla. In 2014, Draper predicted that Bitcoin would trade at $10,000 in 3 years. The top cryptocurrency climbed above that level in November 2017. Now, the venture capitalist says he thinks Bitcoin will skyrocket to $250,000 by 2023. Oh, okay. I got to go back in dream mode again. 250,000 by 2023. That's 2 years from now. Okay, I gotta go in dream mode. So if I had 100 Bitcoin at today's price of, I want to know exact, 83.50. That's $800,000 about times 800. Messing this up. 100 times $850,000. Oops. 100 times $8,500. It's not $8,500 a coin. 83.42. Get it right, Brandon. I know it's early on a Saturday. 83.42. That's $834,000 worth of Bitcoin at today's price, 100 Bitcoin. 2 years from now, you don't touch those 100 Bitcoin. Times, how much did he say again? $250,000 a coin? That's $25 million in the next 2 years. If you're working a 9-to-5 job, the average American, $45,000 a year. 2 years from now, you just made 80 grand. I'm just saying, the best performing asset of the past decade. Why Chris always call me when I'm doing crypto talk? Hold on, let me pause this just for a second. All right, 225 million in 2 years. That's why I work as hard as I am right now. All right, next, let me continue what he's saying here. Well, that's the end of that, right? 250,000 by 2023. Okay, last article up. Japan explores digital yen as Facebook and China lead push for digital or for virtual currencies. Japan explores digital yen. All right. Lawmakers in Japan are drafting a plan that will allow the country to issue its own digital currency. Reuters reports that a group consisting of 70 liberal Democratic Party lawmakers are drafting a proposal to create Japan's own virtual currency in response to Facebook's Libra and China's efforts to issue a digital yuan. According to Parliamentary Vice Minister for Foreign Affairs Nohiro Nakayama, China is moving towards issuing digital yuan, so we'd like to propose measures to counter such attempts. Nakayama says the digital currency could be a joint venture between private companies and the government. The group plans to submit an official proposal as soon as next month. Meanwhile, the Bank of Japan is joining 5 other central banks to initiate research on central bank digital currencies. As digital currencies continue to penetrate politics, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe recently announced that the government will collaborate with the country's central bank to make the yen more convenient as a settlement option. So let me stop right here for 1 second. We have President Xi Jinping of China is putting the entire nation of China, their empire, digital, blockchain technology. Now, United States is their number one rival, but who is their historical enemy? I mean, we're going back millennia. It's Japan. And Japan is an ally of the United States. Now, those of you who know history and know the sad, sordid tale between Japan and China, if you just look at World War II, what Japan did to China, most of us in the West, we're not taught that history. You got to actually, go for it. We normally learn about the European War for World War II. And what Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, and we dropped 2 nukes on them. But you don't hear about the war between Japan and China, because in World War II, China was actually our ally against Japan. Even before we bombed with the nukes, we did a bombing campaign immediately after Pearl Harbor got bombed, and some of our planes had to land in China. I mean, watch the movie Pearl Harbor. It tells you that. But Japan at one point marched almost halfway across China. The rape of Nanking. I mean, everyone talks about the Holocaust. The massive stealing of women in China by the Japanese and forcing them into, they called them the comfort women. It was as brutal as you could imagine, and even what you cannot imagine. I have studied that extensively. What was going on in that era, right before and during World War II? What Japan did, it is biblical. So there's a lot of bad blood between China and Japan. But ever since, I hang up on Chris. But ever since China, I think Diana, I think you tried to call me last night. I gotta check that. I'll hit you up right after this. I got to do the up to give presentation in 30 minutes. So I'll hit you up after that. But anyways, we bombed Japan like there was no other, into complete submission. But they still had their rival of China. And so Japan is looking long term. If China is making these moves, they need to make the same moves. And maybe the United States will start to pay attention. So now that China's doing this thing, let me go back to this. In fact, I'm going to read this again from this article because I kind of had zoned out for a second. Lawmakers in Japan are drafting a plan that would allow the country to issue its own digital currency. Reuters reports that a group consisting of 70 liberal Democratic Party lawmakers are drafting a proposal to create Japan's own virtual currency in response to Facebook's Libra and China's efforts to issue a digital yuan. See that? It's in response. This means it's going to be a domino effect. It means there's going to be other countries that's going to do the same thing. Only because China's doing it. China's forcing their hand. According to the Parliamentary Vice Minister for Foreign Affairs, Nohiro Nakayama, China is moving toward issuing digital yuan, so we'd like to propose measures to counter such attempts. Nakayama says the digital currency could be a joint venture between private companies and the government. The group plans to submit an official proposal as soon as next month. Meanwhile, the Bank of Japan is joining 5 other central banks to initiate research on central bank digital currencies. As digital currencies continue to penetrate politics, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe recently announced that the government will collaborate with the country's central bank to make the yen more convenient as a settlement option. Now, Japan legalized Bitcoin 2 years ago, so this is going to be an easy transition for them. As the digital currency wars heat up, you see that? Digital currency wars. The United States ain't even on the playing field. Japan's finance minister, Taro Aso, is expressing his sense of urgency. Oh, that's a strong word there. Japan's finance minister is expressing a sense of urgency. According to ASO, if the digital yuan gains traction for cross-border payments, it would be a serious problem for Japan, which uses the US dollar for international settlements. This is my quote for the day. And United States ain't even on the playing field yet. We got to wake up. However, if as an American, just because our government isn't taking this serious on the surface, they are preparing the Fed coin behind the scenes, by the way, but just because they're not taking it serious on the surface doesn't mean that you as an individual cannot take it serious. It doesn't mean that you as an individual cannot prepare. As Jim Rohn says, build a financial wall so high around your family that nothing can penetrate it. Nothing the government does is going to mess it up. That is why I'm in the crypto space, and I also have a sense. I expressed my sense of urgency last October. At the end of October, I had to make some decisions. I had to make a move because the clock is ticking. Things are moving very, very fast. You see this right here? I've got a countdown clock on my computer. 107 days until May 12th. That's how many days I have left to accumulate an extra 100 Bitcoin. So in the next 7 days, it's literally, I need to be generating 1 Bitcoin a day to meet my goal. That's $8,000. How am I going to do that? Oh, I have a plan. I don't do anything without having a goal and a plan in action. My goal is the platforms that we're taking advantage, crypto education, and also our Up to Give Academy. The Up to Give Academy will allow us to position ourselves to earn dozens of Bitcoin on a monthly basis. I mean, so I can't use that word earn. Will allow us to receive contributions of dozens of Bitcoin on a monthly basis. You see how strong that is? Some of you may not be at that high of a level, but you know what? If you just reach level 4, that's a full-time income. I'm looking at level 6, not just reaching it, but maximizing it. At the current rate we're going, my goal now is to get there by the end, February 5th, by the end of March, to maximize level 6. That's the end of the first quarter. And then that gives me all of April and all of May. It's another, just those 2 months, 100 Bitcoin. So that's everything I'm working towards is that. And if you want to learn how you can do that as well, I'm doing a presentation in 30 minutes. I will put the link to that in the chat box right here. It's going to be in 30 minutes. It's going to be a Zoom call. It is not this Zoom link. It's the corporate Zoom link. Zoom.us/my/up-to-give. 30 minutes from now. Your team members on ASAP. Let's stop playing around now. This is getting dead serious. We have 107 days left. All right, I hope you learned something new. As always, as a point, I got to make a couple of phone calls back, and then we got our presentation in the next 30 minutes. I will be back tomorrow morning for early morning crypto talk. And remember, this is Saturday, so I don't do any presentations Friday night or Saturday nights. So have a good day, everybody. Bitcoin Brandon out. God bless. Bye-bye.